will be created by the parent. And therefore, it will always depend on these factors. If the organization has done enough on these areas in terms of facilitating project management, then most of projects are going to be safe in that particular organization. But if the organization didn't do anything on this area, it means the environment will be so weak to handle projects. And the chances of those projects in such organization to experience problem is extremely high. And today, we'll proceed from there. So we said yesterday that when it comes to culture, culture is critical. It's very important because culture shapes us. It creates, it changes our mindset. And you cannot even hide yourself when you are in that particular culture. You may feel like you are okay, and you may think everybody look at you as an okay person, while everybody is perceiving you differently. When you try to look at yourself, you feel you are okay. But somebody will notice something different, and they can easily identify you and the position where you are supposed to be positioned. Very few people cannot be identified by their culture, like me. It's so hard. Okay, forget about that. But each organization often develops its own unique culture, which depend on so many factors. But one of them is the work environment. When it comes to work environment, what is in your staff mind? Is it working hours or deliverables? There are people, when it comes to 5 p.m., they don't care what's going on, they just quit. Why? Working hours are gone. What did you do today? That's not a business. That's not the matter to discuss about. So we need to think about it. And management style, of which you can see it even from the organization structure. How is it? Where do we position project management department, and how influenced it is by where it is? Policies. What kind of policies do we have? Are they supportive when it comes to project management? That's another thing to look at. The way we select projects. Sometimes you may find an institution is selecting projects based on political factor. And the political factor may not necessarily be politics, the normal politics. It can be an organizational politics. People are inventing or bringing in or introducing projects just because they want their senior management to be comfortable. Because those are the things senior management wanted to hear. And not reality. So all those factors tell what kind of institution it is. Project management style. Because, as I said, if you have project management office, you establish project management methodology. And through that, it means an institution will have its own way of developing, of running what? Project. But in the absence of project management style in an organization, you may find people come and run a project based on their feelings. But if the institution is matured and there is a culture, in project management culture, then whoever comes in, they'll find the well-established methodology of managing what? Project in that particular institution. Team performance assessment. In many organizations, you may find their operations and their projects. But when it comes to assessment at the end of the year, you may find most of targets, evaluation criteria are based on operational targets and not project management targets. And therefore, people don't see project management as something to stick on, because at the end of the day, head of department will be assessing them based on what? On operational targets. And those things all become part of the issues which will affect performance of the organization. So try to look at the way your organization is framed and the way that structure is affecting project performance. Tuko pamoja. Another thing is enterprise environmental factors, as we said yesterday, EEF. In the future, I won't be saying enterprise environmental factors. I'll be just saying EEF, and everybody will just know what I'm talking about. Sindio Jaman? Yeah. So EEF, as I said yesterday, refer to both internal and external factors that surround or influence the project. Any project will be influenced by internal factors, but as well as what? External factors. And it is our responsibility as project managers to make sure that when you are in the process of initiation, planning, executing a project, or monitoring and controlling your project, always think, in any area, try to think how internal factors may affect this project and how external factors may affect this activity. By having that mindset, you'll be so much safe. Don't just focus on activities the way they are. Most of the time, influence of the surroundings, you may find they become the major cause of project failure. So you need to see how policies, how infrastructure of the organization, how people, staff within the organization can let you down. But also need to think about other people, other institutions, other factors outside the organization. Try to see how they may bring in their influence into your project. And that's why as a project manager, you may see, you are always not exactly to deal with the technical issues, but to deal with influences. In fact, that's why they are saying most of project managers will spend their 90% of their time in communication, talking. 90%. So we don't expect project managers to be busy in the implementation per se. The people will be implementing. You want to see a coach in the match, in the field. But you see outside they are doing that like, wah, 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 wah. And that's what we're going to see this evening. Cynthia? Okay, so, but again, when it comes to EF, it becomes even worse when a project is implemented by more than one organization. It means each organization will have their own EEF, internal and external factors, internal and external. And you as a project manager, when you're implementing a joint project, you need to know, you need to study environmental issues of both organizations and try to see how their influences can affect what? Your project. So EF may enhance or constrain project option and may have positive or negative influences on the project. So you may find the environment is so good and therefore will influence positively on the project. But you may find also the opposite of it and it may influence negatively your project. So you need to consider EF in many situations when you are implementing your project. Tuko pamoja. Tuko pamoja. So for example, if somebody wants you to know if this one is an internal influence or an external influence, can you identify out of this one which one is an internal and which one is an external factor when you are assessing the influence of the environment which surround the project? Organizational culture, structure, and the processes. Is it an internal or external? Good. Government or industrial standard? An internal, external? Excellent. Infrastructure, like existing facilities and the capital equipment. Is it internal or external? Internal. Existing human resources. Internal, external? Personnel administration, overtime policy or retention scheme, internal, external? Shareholders risk tolerance, internal, external? Shareholders risk tolerance, internal, external? Internal. Who are saying external? External.
No, I think it's external.
It's external. Why? Why do you think it is an external?
They're not part of the organization. That's why I said it's external.
Shareholders are not a part of the organization. Yes, brother. It's an internal.
Because shareholders are the ones who can complement the project, or they are not going to complement the project based on its liability in terms of income or in terms of capital injection.
So we need to differentiate between stakeholders and shareholders. Shareholders are part of the owners of the company. So automatic, they have internal influence. So, yeah. You wanted to say something? Stakeholders will depend. Because even shareholders need stakeholder. So it will depend. When you are mentioning, you need to specify what kind of stakeholder are you talking about. Yes, it can be internal stakeholder, a stakeholder, or external stakeholder. Yeah. Sawa, eh? All right. Political climate. Organizational established communication channels. Project management information system. Marketplace condition. Company work authorization system. So you can try to see how everything here and the others can affect project performance. And when you are considering these, then you are using EEF as a means of assessing the influences. So, and then organization structure. Organization structure is one of the EEF, isn't it? Is one of the internal factors. So you're saying it is one of the EEF which can affect the availability of what? Of resources. Because remember, when it comes to organization structure, it shows the way power has been distributed within the organization. And somebody who is very below, you can see kwamba atakuwa na experience a lot of issues when it comes to availability of what? Resources. The more you are up there, the more you have power and the influence on resources. So project managers should understand the different organization style and the culture that may affect their project. So is up to us to understand setup of different organizations. If you just join an institution and you don't see anything in the structure about project management, you should just know kwamba here there is a problem and they will experience problems. But by knowing that does not mean kwamba uresign. Sa matatizo yapo ili yawe. So, maybe you'll be the one who, after sometimes, help that institution to establish what? Those good practices. So just join, but you know exactly the kind of issues you'll be exposed to once you join that institution. So you'll know in advance the work ahead of you. So sometimes when you know that I won't be in the structure or there's no structure which will support me there straight, then you need to know who now to win. You need to start looking at what? Individuals now, who have influence, and through them, you can get what? What you want. So for example, immediately you join the institution, try to see if a CEO has an interest in that particular project, if he sees or she sees the future in that particular project, and if he's very serious about the outcome, output of that. If you know he's like of that kind, then make sure that you keep closer, to keep him updated, and you share with him or her those challenges you are getting, and he will be of very helpful to you. Kwa ni lazima uwe mjanja. When you see the structure is not supportive, you need to find other what? Alternatives. And remember, the best thing to do when you are joining an institution, don't talk with those senior people. Talk to those small guys in the office. They have a lot of information. You may find sometimes in an institution, someone is not even in the structure, but is very powerful. Is not even in there, but very, very powerful. So somebody will tell you, kwamba kwenye hii taasisi, respect that person. Is not there, but very powerful. Tulisema kila taasisi ina politics. Every institution has a politics. Serikali zina politics. Na taasisi pia zina politics. Hata familia, just go back and try to look at your family. Utagundua kwamba hata kwenye familia yako kuna politics. Mdogo lakini very powerful. Are you getting my point? So many factors may cause such thing to happen. So you should be very careful. Don't just rely on formal structures. Sometimes formal structures will mislead you. Sio kama mnanipata. I'm sure siongei na wanafunzi, najua naongea na wafanyakazi. Kwa hivi vitu najua you know and you have gone through them number of times. So don't make mistakes by making such mistake. When it comes to organization structure, in trying to connect it with project management, there are 4 types of structures which exist. And those 4 types of structure, some of them are supportive and others are not what? Supportive. So we try to go through one by one and see how these structures will affect our project. So for example, functional organizational structure. Okay, we have functional organizational structure, matrix organizational structure, which is divided into 3 parts: weak matrix, balanced matrix, strong matrix, projectized organizational structure, and the composite. So we look one by one. Functional organizational structure. This one is very common one. And it's very common in many organizations, including public institutions. And here, there is a hierarchy. You can easily see who is powerful, who are the seniors, who are the lower level people. You can tell just straight from the structure. But again, another factor which you can see it is that in many organizations of this kind, people are grouped according to their area of specialization. So you see marketing, wana department yao. Finance, wana department yao. Operations, wana department yao. Sui nani, wana department yao. And things work as per specializations. And the staff member report to their clear superior. So if you're in the accounting department, you are reporting to the head of the accounting department. You're in the human resource department, you are reporting to. So people knows exactly where to report, and its structure is very clear. And when it comes to this one, project scope is usually limited to the departmental boundaries. Even when there is a project, you may find kama project near afya, let's say, au near ICT. ICT, they will do their part, and then later, watu wa finance, they will do their part, and then watu wa procurement, they will do their part, but they don't work as a team. They work in groups, and then after that, they combine. And then tunakutana field. So if in your institution, you don't develop a joint project, you don't plan a project as a team, but a group of people, and each is doing their part, and then combine it together later, and if the structure is of that kind, then that institution is falling under this structure. So through that, you may find project manager has little what? Authority. Because there is a clear boss. So it means if we want one of the department member to be part of the project, it means he has to get authority from where? He has to get approval from the head of department. So you can see the structure becomes so much cumbersome for him to operate. It's the most common form of organization. So in these kind of structures, most of the time you will find a project manager do not have authority over resources. Whatever resources must be approved by the head of department before he gets them. And in most of projects in these kind of structures, delays, experience so many challenges. And you can see the structure. The structure may find it look like this. There is a CEO, and then there is their head of department. And then after that, when there is a project, you may find these greens, staff will be coming from this department. And then there is a project coordinator here. But if you want to get either of these staff, he must get approval from where? From these heads.
Yeah, I remember you saying, like, when you have a complex project, for you to be able to finish within time, within budget, it's better to put it into some groups so as to finish within the scope.
But remember here you are talking about department. We are not talking about project divisions. We are talking about what? Organization structures. Yeah, so you have your project there, and when you are looking for people to work in that particular project, in fact, kwenye taasisi nyingi, implementers, they come from within the organization. And if they lack, then they may invite somebody from outside. But most of the time will be implemented by people from within what? within the organization. And therefore, the situation become like this. The people will be coming from different departments. But for you as a project manager to have access to these people, you must get approval from these heads. And therefore, it becomes what? Cumbersome. Tuko pamoja. Kuna mtu ana swali hapa? This kind of structure have advantage, but also have what? Disadvantages. One of the advantages that technical management is easier. When you are grouping people into their area of specializations, they speak the same language, sindio? So their life becomes so much easier because they know each other, they know what they are doing, they know their language, they know the modality of working. So it becomes so easy for them to work. And there's a clear career path in the area of specialization. So people can grow within their department. And therefore, team members report to only one boss. So they know even if there's a project manager there, but the boss will always be a head of department. But there are also disadvantages. And this one are advantages, but advantage not in terms of project management, advantage in terms of department. But when it comes to project management, you can see no authority for project managers because people report to their boss first before coming to the project. We are trying to see that structure, how it can affect project. So disadvantage comes because when it comes to access to resources, kwa mfano gari yalikuwa litoke kwenye account department, washangoenda kuchukua kwambia no, tunaenda benki, subiri labda lirudi, no, natoka nalo, no, we have our priority, no, muda huu tuna target zetu na sisi pia. Are you getting my point? So you may see a head of department at the end of the day is not assessed by project performance, is assessed by departmental what? Target. So you can see a project for him is not what? It's not a priority. And because of that, project will fail. That's why we need to be aggressive project managers to help projects. Because projects are carrying the dream. Tumeshaongea huko mbeleni, si ndio? Huko nyuma. We talked about the way project management, affect organizations. So you can imagine if the future depends on the performance of project, and again the management are putting a lot of blocks on project. So without yourself to know, but you are blocking your own what? And the second point, no career path in project management. Because in such a particular structure, at the end of the year, if there is any promotion, the person who have access to give you promotion is a head of department, not a project manager. So people will prefer and respect more head of department because he has such authority, power. Kwa ni rahisi sana kumsikiliza head of department kuliko project manager. And the other thing, people are focusing on their functional specialization instead of the project. So utakuta kutaka kusoma masters, hawezi kusoma masters ya project management. Atasoma masters ya engineering. Atasoma masters ya accounting. Ili aweze kugrow, sababu that's where the future is within the organization. If you want to be a head of department one day, it means you need to equip or she need to equip herself in that particular area. So these ones becomes advantage and disadvantage of using that structure. Yes, brother.
So how can we integrate the two?
All right, we'll conclude later. We'll conclude later. But at this moment, just understand this structure, the way it is, advantage and the disadvantage. Because these structures exist, and you will find them the way they are, or the way it is. Asa mwishoni, tutaona option ambayo, which kind of structure will be able to accommodate both the interests. So we'll see it later. There's another structure which is called matrix organization. Matrix organizations, these ones are structures which take advantage, or we call them blended structures. They possess advantages of function organization, but also they possess character of projectized organization structure. Functional means operations. So for them, they prefer more on operations. So we call them functional organization structure. So project is not their priority. And then there's another structure, after this we'll discuss also about it. It's called projectized organization structure, of which for them, for that structure, it prioritizes on what? Project only, and not operations. So this one, we call matrix organization structure. It possesses both characteristics of functional as well as what? Projectized. So there are three types of organization structures under matrix. There is one which is called weak matrix organization structure, balanced matrix organization structure, and strong matrix organization structure. So weak matrix is the one which possesses more characteristics of function organization than characteristics of what? Projectized organization structure. And therefore, projects suffer under such matrix, because still they take more, or they prefer operations than one. And therefore, head of department is more powerful than a project manager. And then there's another structure which is called balanced matrix organization structure, of which they prefer both. For them, projects are important and the operations are important. And therefore, head of department is very important and the project manager is very important. So you can imagine if these two key persons, all of them with targets, and all of them are important. You can see if it happen, both of them have an interest on a certain resource. Who can get it? Nataka nichukue gari. Ambia naenda nalo mimi na kazi nalo. Na mimi na kazi nalo. And all of them are powerful. What do you do? Hizo kesi na bizo zinaenda kwa seniors, kwa head of department, kwa CEO. Maybe ndio anaweza kuaddress. Sababu wenyewe wote ni powerful, they own resources, they have powerful own resources, but they are equal in power. So that's what we call balanced matrix. And then there is strong matrix, which possess more characteristics of what? Projectized organization structure than what? Of functional. And in this kind of structure, it means a project manager is more powerful than one operation. So if there is a car outside there, even if functional head is the one who went there to take that car, he may come and say, I'm sorry, leo niko busy na project, tafuta njia zingine. He don't have anywhere to say. Because in that particular institution, projects are key. A project is a priority in that particular organization. Tuko pamoja. So in that structure, there are also advantages as well as what? Disadvantages. But here you need to be careful when we are explaining the advantage and disadvantages. So for example, advantage, they are saying better visibility of project objectives. better visibility of project objectives. On this one, if it's better visibility of project objective, it means that structure can be either balanced or strong matrix. And a weak matrix, it cannot have that character as an advantage. And then better project management control of resources. So you need to know at this point, they are also saying, talking about either balanced or strong. Team members are not disbanded when project ends. And this is another good advantage when it comes to matrix organization structure. You may find an institution have projects, but also have operations. And therefore, most of people who are going to work in those projects will come from the same what? Organizations. So if that project ends, these guys are not quitting the job or the organization. Will just go back to their area of what? Specialization. So they'll go back to their department. So that's why it's an advantage. Team members are not disbanded when project what? Ends. Maximum utilization of resources. So you can, if you have good people, then you don't allow them to go. You recruit them 100% in the department so that when you have your project, they go to project, and when you don't have project, they just go to where? To the operation. So you can maximize their use. Disadvantage is that people report to two managers, especially balanced matrix. If you are a project team member, you are coming from a HR department. HR manager is powerful, as well as project manager is also what? Powerful. So you can imagine, huyu anakuita wakati huo na huyu anakuita wakati huo. Where do you go? I get my point. So those are the issues. People report to two managers, and therefore you create a lot of dilemmas, especially when resources are little and every part need it. More complex to control, especially balanced matrix, because all of them have what? Power. Resource allocation problems, the same, especially when it comes to weak matrix. And then potential conflict between project managers and the functional managers. Because functions, operations are important, as well as what? Operations are important. So in that structure, you can see here there is a functional manager, functional manager, functional manager. But you can see, if let's say it is a balanced matrix or strong matrix, a project manager may not have a position here. But once given people to work in the project, they'll be working. When it comes to strong or balanced matrix, he will have power on them. He don't need to get approval from heads to take them for the project. Tuko pamoja? Kwa hiyo ndo tofauti inapokuja. He is not in the high level position, but the policy is mandating him to have what? Power. So once in the board, they have approved kwamba so and so will go for the project, it means that guy will own them and he will have authority of using them without requesting to the head of department. And then there's a projectized organization structure. Projectized organization structure In these structures, project manager has the most authority over resources. For the duration of the project, each project member will be reporting directly to the project manager. Consequently, the project manager can create a team focusing only on meeting project goals. So here, project manager has a lot of authority. He can even recruit people for the project. Many IT consulting and construction organizations are using projectized, and NGOs are using projectized organization structure. So a projectized organization structure provides the maximum authority and control to the project manager. So most of the time you may see the structure looking like this. There is a CEO there, and then there is a project manager, project manager, project manager. So in this kind of structure, most of organizations which have this kind of structure are what we said yesterday. We call them projectized organization, project-based organizations, like construction companies, NGOs. So if this project ends, it means this guy is losing the job and these people may lose the job. If this project ends, this guy can lose the job and the people also down can lose what? The job. So through that, there are advantages and what? Disadvantages. In terms of advantages, it is very efficient organization structure when it comes to project management. Because people will be recruited based on the interest of what? Of the project. And also better alignment of people interest with the project objective, and communication becomes more effective than in functional structure. But the disadvantage is that teams are disbanded when project what? Ends. And less efficient usage of resources and duplication of job function. So when it comes to less efficient usage of resources, because you may find each project has its own what? Accountant, has its own what? Procurement person. So at the end of the day, you may find each project also has its own car. Kwa wanapotaka kwenda kuchukua hela, wanazokuwa ni taasisi moja, benki moja, lakini magari mawili yote yanaelekea upande mmoja. Are you getting my point? So there is less efficient usage of what? Of resources. But also duplication of job function. Sababu kuta mtu mmoja huyu angeweza kwenda benki yeye mwenyewe akafanya kazi zote. Lakini sasa kazi moja anafanya na watu wawili tofauti. So that's duplication of what? So that's disadvantage when it comes to structure. There are advantages, but also there are disadvantages in that particular structure. And then we have the last structure, which is called composite structure. And this one is a structure which is trying now, in fact, it's a new structure. It is trying to address disadvantages that are in previous structures. So for example, you go like working, let's say, with Tigo, Vodacom, TTCL, National Housing Corporation. These are institutions which have a lot of operations, but also they have a lot of what? Projects. So for them, especially if you go to Tigo, Vodacom, you may find their structures are like this. But there are some organizations which have a lot of what? Project, but still they don't have these structures, and therefore project, they find themselves in chaos. So for example, these functional managers, these are head of departments. So you can say this one is a HR department, finance department, technical department, and then here, PMO. All of them are at higher level positions. These are directorate. And therefore, in this particular infrastructure, everything that has to do with the project will fall under this department, will be coordinated under this department. And every operational staff will be coordinated by head of operational departments. But also, it may happen, some department, let's say if you go to Tigo or Vodacom, you may find a department is by itself. Inside the department, there are a lot of projects. There are projects which cut across departments, or impact of that project will impact the organization. But there are projects which are supposed to run within the department to accelerate departmental objectives. And you may find there are so many projects within what? That particular department, which need to be very well coordinated within the department. So you can establish a PMO within the department to coordinate project in that particular department, but under guidance from where? From here. So this one is very flexible. And the idea behind this structure is to make sure that operations run successfully and the project also run what? Successfully. Sijua kama nitakuwa nimekujibu swali lako. Do you see the answer? Any question? Are we okay? Right. So, factor to consider in selecting an organization structure. You may think about degree of alignment with organizational objective. So when you are thinking about structures, and in these structures we have just discussed, don't you copy and paste. Organization structure in any institution would be created based on the organizational needs. And that's why TBA, Tanzania Building Agents, and the National Housing, all of them are involved in what? Construction. And all of them are government institutions, but their structures are what? Different. So what I'm trying to say, we need to consider these factors here when we are thinking about establishing what? Organizational structures. So first of all, degree of alignment with organizational objectives. So how that particular department, once established, will help an institution to realize their objectives. So a department will be established only if it will speed up or will accelerate realization of what? Organizational objectives. And second, specialization capability. Make sure that the people who are going to be in that particular department are professional. It's like when you go to other institutions, you may find a PMO, they have a PMO, but the director of PMO has nothing to do with project management. I get my point? But he's the head of project. But his background, knowledge, is more of technical skills. So you may, therefore, in such institution, you may see them having the a structure in the very right position, but that structure is not performing, is not making any difference. Span of control, efficiency, and effectiveness. Those are the issues to look at. If we introduce this department in this structure, what kind of control it should have? Efficiency, if it will be helping us to get more with less, and if it's going to give us exact results we wanted. So we must position them with targets and make sure that there is value addition. But also there is a clear path for escalations of decisions. You don't create confusion. Tuko pamoja? There's clear reporting structure. But also clear line and the scope of authority. Huyu hapa specialized na atameki maamuzi yanayohusiana na hii. For example, when it comes to PMO, all aspect that has to do with the project, the main people to make a decision in those areas are people in the PMO department, and not other departments. Delegation capability. You should make sure that once you have established the department, you delegate authority. Sio tena authorities zinabakia kwa watu wengine au kwa heads. In their area, since they are good, then also you should delegate what? Power. Another thing, accountability assignment. They will be accountable for what is happening in the department. If they are not performing, they will be fired. But if they are performing well, they will be rewarded too. Responsibility assignment. They should be able also to assign responsibilities in their areas. Adaptability of design. The design of the structure we are thinking about, new information will be coming. Don't just say, ndivyo tulivyopanga. If the system, the structure need to be adjusted due to new demands, the structure should be flexible to change. Simplicity of design. The design, the structure you are bringing out should not be complicated to the extent wewe mwenyewe uelewi. Yaani kuna structures zingine zinatengenezwa mpaka ujui sasa mimi hapa na report kwa nani. You see a structure and you see a lot of complications. A structure should be so simple, easy to see, easy to understand, easily information to do what? To flow. But also efficiency of performance, that's excellent. It should lead to using less resources to get maximum benefit. Cost consideration should also make sure that there is cost benefit. The cost that will be incurring to maintain that particular structure and the department should be less than the benefit. Physical location, try to see the way this organization structure is it for co-located? Co-located means, are we all in one building? Or we have regional offices, so how that structure would be responding to those. Tuko pamoja. And then clear communication. It means, in other words, they are saying we should have a vision in that structure, and that structure should be helping us to achieve that vision. It should be supported with policies, procedures to make sure that things goes as planned. Any questions so far? So, if let's say your institution wants to establish or you are proposing, now you are a professional, so you are proposing a new department to be established. In the discussion, you should consider these things. Isianzishwe PMO ambayo italeta matatizo. Isianzishwe PMO ambayo itafanya maisha yawe magumu zaidi ya kuliko yalivyokuwa kabla. You should make sure that once the adjustment and the structure is accommodating PMO, then you should make sure that that structure is not making life hard. Tuko pamoja, eh? Another thing which is very important is organizational process asset, of which we talked yesterday. And this one is very important. And we said these are assets, but these assets are not a building. These assets are not physical. Most of them are assets which comes out because of new knowledge you are gaining and which become now potential for organizational growth. I can give you a simple example from myself. When I was young, miaka ya 70 na 80. In those years, kulikuwa na kampuni moja nzuri sana ya matrices inaitwa Tanform. And Tanform those years, kwanza ilikuwa hayapatikani, alafu very expensive. Sasa nilikuwa, it was my dream kwamba siku nikianza kufanya kazi, mshahara wangu wa kwanza utanunua nini? Godoro la Tanform. Na nashukuru Mungu nilivyo graduate tu mwaka 85, ajira yangu ya kwanza ikawa Arusha. Na nilivyokuwa Arusha, nilivyopata mshahara wangu wa kwanza tu, nikaenda kununua godoro la Tanform. Alafu nikatamani mpaka kwenda kutembelea kwenye kiwanda cha Tanform. Naamini usiamini, nilikuwa na chumba, nilivyokuwa naanza maisha nilikuwa na chumba na sebule. Lakini naamini usiamini, ilibidi sebule ibaki iwe chumba, alafu chumba kiwe sehemu ya kupika na vitu, ili na asubuhi nilikuwa standiki, ili mtu yote akinitembelea ajue kwamba sinali tu godoro la kawaida, na nalia Tanform, na nakisha ile nembo inaonekana very clear. Na kuona kwamba kweli nilikuwa nimerogwa na hayo na hayo magodoro, nikaamua kwenda kutembelea Tanform. Kwamba mimi ni ambassador mkubwa, so I always talk about you, but tell me the secret behind your mattresses. Wakasema, mheshimiwa, we cannot tell, but we can give you a story of it. Akasema, okay, what kind of story is that? Akasema, you know, the formula for making mattresses is known, and people study them in universities, colleges, how to make mattresses. So there is a formula. We were also using that formula to make our mattresses. But in the course of working, someone was thinking about the processes of making mattresses. And he was just trying to study the whole chain. And he said, what if we add something at this process? What will happen at the end of the day? And then they do the trial, and later they came to realize if they change the process here and add some more material at this moment, at this point, the final product becomes what? So they said, okay, so this is the knowledge which we have gained ourselves, in the process of what? Making. Is not documented anywhere. So no one will be able to know this unless somebody from our side decide to do it. So what he did, so the secret behind our matrices is in the process, and is in the knowledge that we gained in the process. Is not documented anywhere, so it becomes now an asset to us because it differentiates us and the others, and that's the value I'm talking about here. Project organizational process asset, that's why they are calling organizational process asset. These are assets which come because of projects that you implement. In the process of implementation, you'll be learning. And when you learn, you need to make sure that you capitalize. It's from that new knowledge you are gaining. That's what will help you to improve your product and services. If you don't learn from doing, you'll always produce the same thing. And therefore competition will be so high on your side. And chances of you to do different will be very low, or it won't be even there at all. And many organizations which are not learning, they are of the same kind for many years. They don't change. Mtajikuta majengo ni yale yale, viti ni vile vile. Wewe unaenda tu kwenye taasisi yako, angalia tu infrastructure ya taasisi yako for how many years and how the situation look like. Utakuta kiti ni kile kile, majengo ni yale yale, way of working ni everything is almost the same. If it is like that, there is something which is missing, and that is opus. So we expect institutions to mature in terms of project management. There are no more repetition of mistakes. A mistake that we committed yesterday, we will learn out of it. In the future, we don't expect our institution to experience the same what. And because of that, will be matured. If new company come today, they will never be like us because we have a lot of what? Lesson in the process. But why in Tanzania, a new company may come today and overtake our company so easily? Because we don't have this one. Most of our institutions are lacking this one. Tuko pamoja. So this one is very important. And so through this one, you can introduce new recording structure. You can introduce new policies, new templates, new performance measurement. You can change so many things because of new knowledge. And those changes will be bringing, people will be wondering, kwa nini unafanya hivyo? But because you know, you'll continue doing it, and those things you are doing will be adding value to your institution. So knowledge that you are gaining in the process of implementation, it turns to become an organizational what? Knowledge, which is helping that institution to differentiate itself with others. Tuko pamoja. All right, so let us go for break. We'll be back. Tarudi saa ngapi? Tumia dakika 15. Tuunganishe. Ah, kuna watu wamefunga sasa. Tungeweza kufanya hivyo na tungeweza kuwahi kumaliza, but let us spend 10 minutes and then come back and let's see if we can manage to finish early a bit. Thank you. Okay. We are emphasizing that it is important for every project to have its own structure. We are emphasizing that every project must have its own structure. And the advantage of the structure is that it will help us to improve communication, but also transparency. And we term a project as a temporary organization. And we are supposed to consider any project as a temporary what? Organization. And there's no an organization without a structure. Even in your family, there must be an organization structure. And the organization structure will clarify responsibilities, but also will clarify communication channels, information flow, but also will increase transparency among people who are involved. And therefore, we start by saying it is important for every project to have good governance structure. Good governance structure. If there's no governance in an institution, in any project, automatically there will be a lot of conflict, a lot of misunderstanding, abuse of resources, and many things of which, at the end of the day, will affect performance of your project. So when you are saying governance in project, we mean a project must have rules, which will be governing running of that particular project, must have policies, must have procedures, must have norms, must have relationships, systems which will be interacting, and it must have processes. And these ones will be telling us if you need what, if you need something, what you should be doing. If you're looking for a particular information, what you should be doing. You want a particular resource, what procedure you should follow. So everything becomes so much clear, you don't need a favor from somebody to get something. Because there is clear and transparent system of working. So this framework will influence how objectives of the organization or project are set and achieved, how potential risks are being monitored and assessed, but as well as how performance is being what? That's very important. And without considering these small things, you may find a project is now at peak, and there are things which are not clear. And those things which are not clear create utata, ambiguity, of which those ambiguity create what? Conflicts. And therefore misuse of time start, misuse of resources start, and then at the end of the day you will find yourself out of track. And that's why we talk about this. So every project must have its own management structure, which will be defined at the beginning of the project and dismantled, closed, shut down at the end of the project. So it means even the governance and the structure we are talking about will exist only for the duration of the project. After that, whoever is in the structure will have nowhere. It means if he was within the organization, it means he will go back to the main structure. And if was employed by the project, it means he will go outside that organization because there is no more structure. The definition of the management roles, responsibility, relationship, and accountabilities and authorities provide the basis of governance arrangement for the project. A well-designed organization structure for your project, once you have established the structure, will tell exactly what kind of a person should be positioned in different what? Positions. And therefore, the structure will have the right people with the right skills and the right level of authority, so that once that, that structure is approved, the project may proceed with very minimum requirement to refer outside the project organization. It means so many things will be addressed from within, because the way the structure was designed to help to make sure that most of issues, most of questions will be resolved from within. Very few things will go outside the structure. And this one can be a structure to start thinking about. It's just an example. And this one can work if a project is big. But some of the projects may not need project board. But if the project is so big and riskier, you need to have a panel, a good number of people who will be overseeing the performance of that particular what? Project. Remember, and the SRO means senior responsible owner. Senior responsible owner. And the senior responsible owner is like, kwa wizara ni katibu mkuu. Kwa taasisi ni CEO. Sasa CEO ndo accounting officer. Kwenye halmashauri ni DED. It means under him or her, miradi yote na kuwepo chini pale, yeye ndo yuko accounted for. And therefore, kama kuna miradi mikubwa na itamchanganya kwenye maamuzi na riski yake ni kubwa, then he should put aside some resources kwa ajili ya bodi ambayo itakuwa inamsaidia kufanya maamuzi sahihi. A wiser CEO, if he will realize, she will realize that the risk is too much, there is a high chance of mismanagement, there is a high chance of mishandling this project, then he should appoint people with the right potential to advise the way the project is progressing. So they can advise project team, project members, and they can even advise him what to do for what happened in the project or what is going on in the project. So the project board will be there, appointed by senior responsible owner to oversee performance of the project manager and his team. And the board may establish a unit, because the board will not be part of the day-to-day work of the project. They might be meeting only once per month or sometimes quarterly. So in those months, it will be sometimes difficult to see some of the things. And maybe when they are meeting, it will be too late to address some of what? Of the issues. So they need to establish another instrument which will be watching what is going on their behalf. And that is project assurance team or monitoring and evaluation unit. So these ones will be working very close with the project manager and the project team, but they will be reporting directly to the board. Tuko pamoja. So you can just look at the structure and modify it as much as you can, depending on the nature of what? Of the project. But a simple structure can look like this. So we look at role and responsibility of those players. For example, senior responsible owner. We consider him as a managing director, let's say. What role a managing director has on what? On projects. And this one is very important because in the near future, good number of us are going to be in those strategic positions. And most of people who are at that particular position, they don't know what they should be doing when it comes to projects in their organization. So we are discussing about them now, and they should remain in our mind so that if it happens, we have those positions, then we are able to exercise well our role. So the MD is a project owner, and therefore a champion of that particular project. Because remember, once a project is successful, all the credit will come to you. So you must be a champion of that particular project. It's so painful when a senior CEO is abusing project resources while the same resources, the same project exists for his success. The project exists for his promotions, for his benefit or her benefit. And then he abused the same. It's painful. Very painful. Ndio maana hata sometimes nakiwa nafikia tunaongea na madedi na nini, mpaka unaonea huruma. But if they could know what they should be doing when it comes to their positions, again, when it comes to project, they could exactly do what we are saying. If a project is small, then they can, but they will put a mechanism to make sure that the project is successful. But if the project is bigger and they attract a lot of risks, then they should establish a board which will be helping to oversee performance of that particular project. Because if those projects exist for the benefit of your organization, and the future of the organization depends on the success of that particular project, and then you are giving it to anybody. Miradi inakuja kama mradi mmoja wa waziri mkuu, bahati mbaya hiyo miradi yote atakuja kuwaonyesha mzee akija kuwafundisha ethics. Unakuta mkurugenzi anampa engineer wa agriculture ndo asimamie ujenzi. And then waziri anakuja anakutana na vitu vya ajabu. How can you give your dream to somebody who cannot help you to get things done? What kind of criteria are you using to appoint somebody to take care of your dream? And this one I really don't understand. I think we don't know kwamba project ni dreams zetu. And our future in terms of organizations depend on what? Success of those projects. Maybe we don't know. We think projects are just normal activities. And that's why consideration is so low. And that's why we don't bother until somebody from up there coming, au mwenge unakuja kupitia, ndio unaanza kuwa busy. Projects are there for your own benefit. So why you don't take care of them? Why do you allocate the wrong people? Why are you not caring on the resources? It is a painful experience. So the MD is the project owner and champion and is ultimately accountable for the delivery of project, and therefore he must provide leadership and direction to other members of the project board and to the project manager. But also he should ensure that all key stakeholders are committed to the project and adequately represented in the organization structure. But also he should ensure that the budget holder and resource owners are committed to the project and that the necessary funds and the other resources are made available when required. But also ensure that project governance arrangement are of appropriate and are in place. And brief senior stakeholders on the current and the forecast status of the project. But also he should be receiving, consider, and act frequent on report briefing from the project manager. He should be chairing meeting of the project board. Should ensure that all members of the project board understand their roles and their commitment and the commitment they must make in order that the required outcome or benefit from the project are being realized. Ensure that the project manager is empowered, is not just a title, is empowered to lead the project on day-to-day basis. But also ensure that the project manager is aware of his or her limits and understand that issues outside those limits must be escalated to the MD at the earliest possible. Negotiate with the senior stakeholders to find solutions to project issues that are outside the level of authority of the project manager, and decide how responsibility of project assurance will be met by delegating to suitable skilled people. So as you can see, MD is not just a figure, is not just a title, is not just a person. It means responsibilities. And when it comes to project management, MD, DED, Katibu Mkuu, when it comes to their project, they should be working on these areas. If they cannot, then a person who will be representing them, board which will be representing them, they should have that concern. They should be working in these areas. And they should all know kwamba project, at the end of the day, is the future of this country, is the future of the everybody, especially when it comes to public projects. The project board should include managing director representing business interests, but also senior representatives. So head of department can also be part of the project board. But also you can appoint other people from outside the organization based on their potential in that particular project. And they can be part of the project board. And the project board must jointly, once formed, once appointed, the project board must jointly create an environment where project can succeed in delivering the changes necessary for the benefit to be realized. They should set the direction for the project and approve key milestones. Approve project initiation document, ensure the appropriate resources required by the project are made available, take decision as necessary throughout the life of the project, give the project manager the authority to lead the project. So once project board have been appointed, they are not supposed to start working as if the project managers. They should understand their limitations, and they should also understand what they should be doing and what they should not be doing. Members of the project board should decide how they will assure themselves that the integrity of their aspect of project for which they are accountable for are being maintained. And that's why they will propose quality assurance unit or monitoring and evaluation unit to exist, because they know we'll be meeting only once per month, once per quarter. So we must have another organ, instrument, which will be helping us to see things on our behalf. Sorry. Okay. Project assurance. The MD and the project board must assure themselves that the project for which they are accountable is properly planned, organized, and controlled. They may decide to delegate project assurance responsibility to one person if the project is very small, but to a group of people or to a unit if the risk is too much. And therefore, this will relieve them of the burden of reviewing the details of such things as project plan, progress report, and quality control. So when they are, kwa sababu watu wakikutana wanakutana siku moja, siku mbili. Asa kama hakuna mtu ambaye anaangalia on their behalf in 1 or 2 days, they cannot really go through each and every area and come up with constructive opinions about the way the project is progressing. So that's why they need to establish a unit or an instrument that will be looking at the project, and during those meetings, they'll be briefing those board members what's going on in that particular project. So project assurance role will usually be a part-time role when it comes to small projects, but if it's a huge project and riskier, it can be a permanent one. But they will be involved on briefing the relevant members of the project board at regular intervals or key milestones in order to support their project directions and decision-making responsibilities. Ensure that good project management practice is being followed to identify any perceived weaknesses and suggest possible solutions. Review and advise on the integrity of business case. Review and advise on the integrity of project initiation document, project plan, and the stages of project development. But also project assurance will also assess project progress toward delivery of the required outcome and the business benefit, and also assess whether communications with users are of appropriate and effective, that user interests are being, so project managers and his team are not producing their own product, and make sure that users are involved and their interests are used in designing and planning the project. Help to identify and communicate potential or actual problem in good time for them to be able to resolve them before they damage the integrity of the project, but also advise on the impact of any request for change that may be raised for consideration by the project board. Also to contribute to the lessons learned review at project closure. So you can see project quality, sorry? Okay. So project assurance team, you can see they have a big role to play. In the absence of project assurance team, you can see the board itself won't have those muscles of doing each and everything. So at the end of the day, if there is a board somewhere which do not have this kind of unit, they're just there. And that's why you can find institutions have boards in this big project, but those projects continue to experience a lot of problems because there's no one who is really going in detail, try to see the way the project is progressing and update them so that they make informed decision about the project the way it's progressing. Sasa hii ni tamani to discuss jana. Why good failure is better than bad success? I wanted this to discuss together yesterday. Why good failure is better than bad success? What is good failure? If you try to think about what you went through yesterday, you'll be able to answer this very well. Can somebody try to say something about it? Chiku, you look like you want to say something. Excellent. I can see even the way the color of your dress. Mm-hmm.
Yes, like they put effort and everything, but they didn't score very well.
Okay.
So there are some lessons learned.
Okay.
Yes.
So what are you commenting today? Because of the lessons learned. So maybe it's not a good failure. Maybe it was not a good failure. Maybe. Because if it was a good failure, then you today I'm sure you have a lot of words to speak. Sindio? Nani anaweza akaongeza kwa Chiku? Good failure.
Studying lesson, I think good failure because when we start a project, it's we intend to accomplish a certain benefits to the people. So the good failure, I can say that it's when implementing the project, maybe the cost, the time, maybe we take a lot of time, but we were able to deliver the benefit to the people, though it didn't take, it is not implemented in that time, maybe it take longer or whatever, but the bad success is like we succeed to control time and everything, but at the end, the benefit is not made. So that's why the good failure is better than bad success. For me, it's true that at least a good failure with their benefits to the stakeholders.
Good failure
There is a,
with their benefit.
yeah, though it is not implemented in the time which we are demonstrating.
And the bad success?
But success, the implementation take in a right time and everything, but
Benefit are not there.
they are not there.
Perfect. Perfect. So a good failure, according to project management principles, they may say you are failed because the project delayed, experience overruns, and the like. So is a good failure because at the end of the day, apart from overruns and the delay, but at the end of the day, there was a benefit. And that benefit may not necessarily be a benefit per se, but if there is a lesson behind, a good lesson which can help to improve in the future. Also, we call it a good failure. A project may fail, but a lesson that you have acquired, usingeweza kuipata bila huo mradi. But now you know what to do after learning. Bad success is exactly what she has said. people may say you have succeeded in terms of time, cost, and the product, but benefits are not there. Yes.
So maybe to say, come over when you're ready your charge.
I'm not sure.
No. See, okay. When it comes to project management, the most thing about your, let's say, we will focus on, it's on outcome. Indeed,
Benefit.
the result. So like, umepiga mpira mwingi, lakini umeishia kwenye hiyo stage kwamba umefunga still. Or rather, kwamba like everything was in place, lakini the intended outcome haipo.
Maelezo mazuri, lakini mfano sasa ndo sijauelewa. Chief, yes. Perfect. 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 Yaani natamani saa hizi tuna uwezo wa kujaji vitu. We are not supposed to speak like the way a layman person is speaking. Are you getting my point? We should be able to see things beyond. There are things we call success while they are not success. And there are things we call failure while they are not what? Failure. So, natamani tu tuna uwezo wa kuanalyze situations and give the facts. Give out what? The facts. Hata wakisema sema, yeah, this guy knows what he's saying. Huyu jamaa kweli kasoma project management. Not a certificate. Sawa jamani. Excellent. Right, so the role of the project manager. In the structure we have seen there the title project manager. So we are saying in some institutions you may find even in these bangles outside, you may find project manager TBA. Project manager wanahitaji taasisi. Lakini project manager sio taasisi. Project manager ni mtu. Kwa hata kama kumanage yule mradi imewini taasisi, be very careful. A project manager should not be taasisi, because that's where most of people make mistakes. Because it may win a very good and reputable organization, but when it comes to project management, they may send a just graduate. Are you getting my point? Si kama mnanielewa. We need a person, we don't need taasisi. I will give you a case. Na ndio vitu tunataka tu tunavijenga. In South Africa, kuna taasisi moja kubwa sana among these big four auditing firms. Wametenda na wenye kazi na taasisi zingine zote zikatenda, lakini because this is one of the big four, not in South Africa but worldwide, na institution yenyewe ilikuwa ni reputable. Wakasema let us choose this one because even when we are publishing our report, ikionyesha kwamba imekuwa audited na PwC na Deloitte na Ernst & Young, then itaonyesha ita present a certain image. And then they selected that institution. And then that institution audited that institution. But again, what happened is that they didn't go those gurus. Then they brought these young people, young graduates who are just employed to go and work. And then they finished the job, they produced a report, and that report went out publicly. So people used that report to make what? Decisions, either to invest in that particular institution and this and that. And later on they came to realize the report was wrong. Very wrong, extremely wrong. You know, auditors, they know how to protect themselves. but it was impossible even to protect themselves. It went viral. Then almost dunia nzima ikajua what went wrong. Na wakaanza kujiuliza, this is a very reputable institution. They know what it takes to audit a firm, a company, especially those big companies with a lot of interest from the public. Why they used those wrong people? Issue ilienda mbali. And it's from there, people started to go deep. Even when one of those big four won the tender, for a client, the issue is not the name of the firm, but the people who will be coming for the assignment. So the same now come to project. If we have decided to outsource project managers, and the number of firms tendered, and we have chosen TBA, National Housing, or whatever company to manage that project on our behalf, we are not supposed to consider a firm. Because if we consider a firm, then it means we won't take time to consider a person who is going to come. And remember, when it comes to a project manager, it means is coming to take care your interest. And then they bring anybody to take care of your interest. And then, and again, you are paying for it. It becomes even more what? Worse. So, this is very important for we professionals. A project manager is not a firm. Project manager is an individual what? Person. So it means TBA, National Housing, they will appoint a project manager who's going to supervise that project. And that's the person we are talking about. He is an individual person assigned by the performing organization to lead the team responsible for accomplishing what? That's very important. Is responsible for processes. Is the processes, there must be in his or her fingertips. Because those are the one which would be guiding him from day one to the end. But also is responsible for people who will be working under that particular project. And he will be making all project management what? Decisions. So it's not just any person. We will need somebody who is competent enough to make informed decisions in our project. Hello. So that's the thing. So a project manager competence may fall under all these things. For example, our project management skills, knowledge, skills, and behavior related to project management, but he should possess leadership potential, knowledge, skills, and behavior related to guide, motivate, and direct a team to help an organization achieve its business goal, but he should have negotiation skill, resilience, communication, problem solving, critical thinking, and interpersonal skills. But he should have strategic and business management. This is very important in terms of business because of the benefit. In any business, no one is doing business without anticipation of benefit. And that's why even if you are a scientist, you are an engineer, you are, at the end of the day, you need to have what? Business mindset. You must understand that at the end of the day, we don't just do work. We don't just implement things. At the end of the day, they must bring out what? Benefit. So those are the issues we expect to be in somebody's mind, especially a project manager. Tuko pamoja. So he will be responsible for processes, those ones 49, but also he will be responsible for people who are going to be working under the project. So when it comes to process responsibility, once you have understood these 49 processes, if they are in your fingertips, automatically when you are applying them, you will find yourself able to do the following. 1, managing the overall schedule to ensure work is assigned to people and completed on time and within the budget, just by following those processes. You'll be able to identify, track, and manage and resolve project issues. You'll proactively manage scope to ensure that only what was agreed to is delivered unless changes are approved through scope management. Proactively disseminating project information to all stakeholders, identifying, managing, and mitigating project risk, ensuring that the resources is of acceptable quality, defining and collecting metrics to give a sense of how the project is progressing and where the deliverable products are of acceptable quality. So automatically by knowing the processes, you'll be able to achieve this. Na ndo maana these 49 processes are so critical, are so important to us. In the absence of these processes, it will be so much hard for a project manager to experience and do these things. And apart from the processes, and these are the other things which we want and we expect a project manager to start developing some potential which you cannot find them in the class. Because of the work ahead of you and the challenge ahead of you, you need to develop some attributes that will help you so that you become useful to the team that will be working with you, but also to your client. So some of the attributes that you need to advance, to develop, include you need to be a well-organized what? Person. Well-organized person. And the second thing, you must have great follow-up what? Skills, because things will be given to different people. You should be able to make follow-up and understand what is going on to everyone. You should be process-oriented. Always follow those what? Processes. You should be able to multitask. You should be able to give and manage tasks that are given to number of people. But also have a logical thought process. Logical thought process, it means your technical people will be giving you advice. Maybe, yes, we have planned this, but during execution, they may come up with new ways, new alternatives of doing the same, and they may give you good results. They may bring more benefit to the project, may minimize cost, may maximize benefit. So when it comes to that, you should be listening with open eyes. Try to see if there is a logic behind it. And if there is, then you give them go ahead if that thing is within you. And if it's not within you, then you should be able to report it to the senior and present and defend it for the benefit of what? Of the project. Sawa jamani. And the other thing ni kwamba you should be able to determine root what? Causes. There will be so many problems happening. But most of the problems that you'll be experiencing, you may find them are not the root problem, are the effect. So if we'll be dealing with the effect, they will continue coming up. So always, even if there is a problem, you see people fighting, conflict, and this and that, always try to see, is this the problem or effect? If you see it is an effect, then try to find the root cause and solve it. And after that, you may find no more effect coming out. Tuko pamoja? That's very, very important. Have good analytical ability. We expect you to be a human being and not a machine. It means in everything, try to see if there are other options, if there are other best alternatives of doing the same thing. So all these things should come from you inside. Don't just implement as per plan. Always go beyond. Always try to see if there are any other options. Be a good estimator and budget manager, because in project, everything will be estimates. Cost, time, resources, all of them will be what? So you should be able to estimate. You should be a good estimator. But you should also have good self-what? Discipline. So self-discipline is very important. It's important for you to assess yourself and identify your weak points. What are your weak points? Mwingine ana hasira, mwingine mgomvi, mwingine mpole sana, mwingine. And you should know kwamba how my weaknesses may affect the project. Mwingine anapiga kinywaji sana. Are you getting my point? So all those things, try to see how my weakness once happen in this project will affect the project. And then once you notice, make sure that you sacrifice. Say, for the sake of this project, kama ni hasira, najaribu kujikontrol vibaya mno. No one, sababu project yenyewe ni miezi 6. Mimi hasira naipenda na inanisaidia na kwangu. Lakini nikiitumia hapa itanicost. So for the sake of this project, miezi 6, nataka niwe mtumishi wa Bwana. I get my point? Unapiga kinywaji chupa 5 kwa siku, umeshazoea. Lakini unajua ukipiga chupa 5, hata kama unapiga kila siku asubuhi unakuwa mbovu. Akili inakuwa hajatulia. And these people who are working under you ni vichwa. And always in the morning they want to hear from you. They may have issues, they may have whatever. And you should always be sober to solve their issues. So you say, for the sake of this project, I just drink one for the Lord. Ambao unajua kwamba I will be fine tomorrow. Unaweza kuwa ni mdokozi tu. Unapenda hela, yani wewe hiyo hela ikitamani iwe ya kwako, na unajua kwa kufanya hivi you will affect your organizational project what? Resources. For the sake of this project, na assume whether ni makaratasi. Uzuri wa moyo unaweza kuudanganya. That's the good side of moyo. Unaweza kufanya nini? Au uongo. Unaweza kuudiscipline. Au uamini. Amwamini. Unaamini eh? Try. Unaambia kusema hiki sio hivyo. Alafu unakubali mbona sababu hiki sio hivyo. And then mashangani interest inapungua kwenye hicho kitu. And then life goes on. So we are saying, or we are defining self-discipline. Self-discipline. Because self-discipline means you control yourself. Kuna vitu napenda kufanya, but because of this you cannot do. So self-discipline is a sacrifice. Is a sacrifice somebody is making for the sake of a higher goal. Self-discipline means sacrifice somebody is making for the sake of what? Of a higher goal. So that's a very important definition to take into account when you become a project manager. Self-discipline. Another thing which you should develop is people responsibility, because you'll be working with people. So, when it comes to people, people are not machines. When you want to work with them, you should know that these ones are not machines. You cannot just force. You need to know what to go, what to do when you are working with people. And that's why leadership becomes so much potential. So you must have discipline and management skills that will make sure that everyone follows the standard processes and procedures. So you must develop potentials that will help you to make follow-up and make sure that processes and procedures are being what? Followed by people. But also, you should be able to lead people so that they willingly follow your direction. They don't just follow you because you are a boss, but they love getting instructions from you, and they just adapt and follow it willingly. So we should make sure that people who are working with us, they are ready to sacrifice for me. Yani unawawini kwenye akili to the extent they are ready to sacrifice for you. Kwani dini jamani si zimetuwini? Na zimetuwini wapi? Si kwenye saikolojia? Nani anakuambia uende na sadaka kila Jumapili au msikitini? Nani anakuambia utoe fungu la 10? Alikwambia ikatiki to the extent kwamba ukiwa peke yako, yani hamna mtu anayekuchungulia, lakini umepokea milioni 10. Hii milioni 1 hii. Hamna mtu anayekufuatilia, lakini hii milioni 1 hii lazima niipeleke kanisani. Hii lazima niipeleke sijui wapi. Ni fungu la 10. But who told you? Somebody told you, ibikakaa kwenye akili, ukaikubali, and then sasa hivi amekaa peke yake kule, you just do it on your own, sababu akili imeshakuwa nini? I get my point. Na ndio maana the best thing to do is to win your people's mind. You must win your team what? Mindset. So that they follow your instructions willingly. If you don't win their mind, you'll struggle with them. You'll be always making follow-up. But if you have won their mind on their own, they will do the work. Tuko pamoja. That's very important. Setting reasonable, challenging, and clear expectations. Leadership. You need to be strong, even if you love them, you work with them, you try to lead them, but still, you must give them what they're supposed to, and challenging task, and they must be able to deliver. And they should be feeling bad if they don't do what? Hello? That's very important. People should be struggling day and night to work hard so that they don't disappoint you. Possessing team building skills so that people work together well and they feel motivated to work hard for the sake of the project and the other team members. And you should be able to advance all these things to your team. Communicating proactively using verbal and writing skills. You should be a good active listener. A project manager hataki kuwa mwongeaji. Anatakiwa kuwa msikilizaji zaidi. He should be listening more than talking. Why? Kinachobakia ndani ni cha kwako. Ukishakitoa sio cha kwako. People already know what is inside you. And the more you talk, the more people understand you. So why don't you allow them to talk so that you understand them more? That's the secret behind. Kwa sababu wakishagundua, kwa sababu wewe ni binadamu, you will always have weaknesses. So the more you talk, the more you expose yourself. But the more they talk, the more they expose themselves. So that's the secret behind. Tuko pamoja. So again, project manager is responsible for the success of the project. And that's why if the project don't succeed, you will be fired. We will be fired. So, sometimes we talk about management and leadership, and we are asking ourselves, what kind of potential a project manager should have? Management skills or leadership skills? And we always say management is about doing things right, following procedures, following policies. And the leadership is about doing the right thing. So which one is good? Doing things right or doing the right thing? So it's good for project manager to be able, as you have said, to have both qualities. Because there are times when procedures are so critical and people must follow them. And there are times you need to compromise because of the situations. That's the leadership. So management is about directing using positional power. It's about maintaining what is written, administrative role, focusing on system and structure, rely on control, focus on near-term goals, ask how and when, focus on bottom line, accept status quo, do things right, focus on operational issues and problem solving. Wakati leader is a guider, influencer, collaborator, using relational power. Is a developer, innovator, focus on relationship with people, inspire trust, focus on long-range vision, ask what and why, focus on the horizon, challenge status quo, do the right things, focus on vision, alignment, motivation, and inspiration. So you can see what is in the management and what is in the leadership. So if somebody just focusing on management, you can imagine vitu atakavyokuwa. Ukiwa na kiongozi hata head wako tu wa department ambaye is of management only, angalia jinsi tutakavyokuwa mnaendeshwa huko department kwenu. Lakini akiwa ana both skills, you can see the way is going to be tough and the way is going to be strategic. Tuko pamoja. And most of the time, you will love a person who will possess both qualities. Yes.
Can I simply say, if a project manager relies on management, he's the person, let's say if you come to this project management methodology, can I say he's that kind of a person who follows the linear management? And the person who will not both is the person or is a project manager with an agility mentorship, agility
Mindset.
mindset. Because I understand that agile is about being innovative, to accept changes at any time to fix things.
I'm trying to understand you. I'm trying to understand you. It is true. Kwa sababu kwenye agile hakuna hata project manager. We don't call a project manager in the agile. Na hakuna boss kwenye agile approach. Ni team inajiorganize and it works. And kama yupo pale anaitwa kwa nini nimetoka pale? Kama facilitator tu. Lakini he's not a boss. I get my point. Kwa hiyo team inajiorganize yenyewe. There's no leader there. Kwa hiyo ukiangalia creativity and innovations of which is more here on leadership. And huku ni wale wanaofollow zaidi hizo process ya 49 na wanataka ziwe kama zilivyo, lakini ulimwengu hauko hivyo. Ndio tunasoma, lakini you need to know kwamba there are some times where they may not work and other things can work very well than those ones in the book. Nakumbuka safari moja alikuwa ni George W. Bush. Alienda kwenye mahafali moja, I think it was Georgetown University kama sijakosea. Wakawa wamemrekodi. Alipewa nafasi ya kuhutubia sasa. Akasema, I congratulate those who got distinctions, A, ambao wamepewa na mawadi na manini. So congratulations, because you are going to be administrators. But I also congratulate those with C's, gentlemen. C's, because they are going to be presidents. Mara kwanza sikuelewa, lakini kumbe hata yeye mwenyewe alikuwa na VC kibao, alafu ndo president. Alafu waliokuwa wanaitwa nini wale vipanga wale vichwa, unapata piga A, unakuta is just katibu mkuu, is just, yani ni mtendaji, yani yuko kwenye zile area ambazo si ni bookish yeye, basi asome mapolisi na akishika kwamba anafuata mapolisi, si ndio? Kwa wanakuta wamekuwa positioned kwenye maeneo hayo, lakini wote wanaojiongeza kwenye kusolve problems wanaenda kwenye mazingira ambayo solutions zake zinahitaji people with that dynamics, ambao ndo watu wenye VC, ndo kama sisi. Sasa sijui kama na mimi na C, anyway, forget about that. Lakini sikwambii upate C, nataka upate A. Sawa jamani? Utakuwa president, lakini vile vile upate C. Usipate C, upate A na uwe president. Sababu kuna watu hapo basi lazima kama ndio hivyo bwana. Okay, project sponsor. Project sponsor, nafikiri dada yetu mmoja jana alituambia, okay, kuna tofauti kati ya customer na user. Sasa customer most of the time anaweza akawa ndo sponsor, lakini sio user. I get my point. Sasa those are the person we are talking about. They formally accept the product of the project during scope verification and administrative closure, may provide the milestones and deliverable due date, and the sponsors threshold for this must be taken into account. Sababu hawa wanakuwa ni wale ambao wana provide money kwenye hiyo nani. Kwa wana expectations out of this. Kwa kuna risk ambazo wanazikubali, kuna zingine wanazikataa kwa sababu zinaenda kuaffect interest zao, ambazo moja hapo ni return na nini. Kwa wewe kama project manager you should know kwamba project sponsor ana role hizi kwenye mradi. Ana accept product of the project kwa sababu ni yeye ndo mwenye nayo, ndo naye ilipia. Kwa ujue sababu ukienda against na yeye inawezekana mwishoni akakosa, unaweza kumkabidhi hivyo lakini ukakosa repeat business. Alafu may provide milestone, kwa natamani kufikia hapa, umefikia hapa. Ukifika tarehe fulani umefikia hapa. Alafu sponsor threshold risk must be taken. Kwa anaweza kuambia bwana, mimi I can accept risk up to this. Beyond this it is eating on my side. So he can give you that. Sponsor is initiator, create the project charter or delegate the project manager. Ndio anayempa project manager authority. And then signature on the project charter authorizing the project. Na ndio anayesign mradi uanze. Kwa hiyo hizi ndio responsibilities za sponsor. Project teams role, participate in some project decisions. As a project teams, they may not be involved in every decision. Most of the time they'll be involved in decisions that has to do with their technical potential. So they were employed because of their technical potential. So participate in some project decision, but also they create WBS. WBS, I said, it is what? Work breakdown structure. Kama mtu anajua, ukishamappoint mtu yeye kazi yake ni kutengeneza meza, then ni lazima awe na uwezo kuibongonyoa ajue how much it take kwa hii meza kusimama hivi ilivyo. So cha kwanza kwamba wewe unatakiwa umtengeneze hii meza, hebu ivunje vunje, afu niambie vi activities vidogo vidogo vitakavyofanyika mpaka hii meza iweze kufanya nini. Akiweza kufanya hivyo, huyu mtu tunamuingiza kwenye team. Kwa kwenye planning process, he must be able to break the product into small parts, and he should know the secret behind turning those activities into product. So that's what we call work breakdown. What? If he cannot do that, then he's not supposed to be part of the team. Identify constraints and assumptions and risk kwenye eneo lake, but also provide estimates kwenye eneo lake. He must be able to complete work package kwenye eneo lake, ile kazi zake lazima anaweza kuzimaliza, but also attend team meetings, sababu that's where team sit down and kazi ya moja ina add value kwa nyingine. Kwa hiyo he must wear each other what? Shoes. Hello. Stakeholders roles, receive project information, wadau. Kazi yao lazima tuwape report. Nyingine notified about changes, sababu katika hawa wengine ni customer, wengine ni users, wengine ni, and then provide help in the creation of the project charter, listed in project team directory, but also involved in project plan development, change control system, scope verification, risk management. Scope verification, it means kama stakeholder, kwa mfano kabla hujamletea mlango lazima hakikisha kwamba kabla huja opposition ule mlango ndio ule ambao alisema anautaka uwepo kwenye mlango wake. Ile process ya kuverify unachokitengeneza kama kiko ndani ya scope, kiko sawa na scope, hiyo process ndio inaitwa verification. So stakeholders, they will do what? Scope verification. Functional managers, head of department, they negotiate resources with project managers and the sponsor, because most of them, they might be in the strategic meeting, organizational management meeting. They assign individual to the team. Most of the project team will be coming from their department, involved in go or no go decision, because again, they're involved in strategic meeting. Improve staff utilization, approve final project plan, but also they provide assistance in problem related with team members' performance. So for example, they may allow one of their staff to come and work in the project. And sometimes you may find the guy is not doing the job well. You can report him to the boss. Kwamba umenipa mtu lakini hana mchango kwenye team. Then the boss may know what to do. Any question? Any question? Automatic, yes. Ni automatic ni mdau. Yani stakeholders, mtu yoyote mwenye interest na mradi, iwe negative au positive, ni mdau. Awe ana negative interest na mradi au awe ana positive interest na mradi, ni mdau. And you should take care of him as a project manager. Sawa. Sasa wiki ijayo, kwa sababu saizi muda umeenda na watu wanaenda kuangalia mechi, bado haijaanza, ingawa hapa nikuona kama Yanga ameshafungwa. Hapana, ameshinda bwana. Ameshinda. Okay, forget about that. Lakini next week tutaongelea assignment, sababu tayari shule imeshaanza. Kwa tutaongelea assignment za wiki hii na za wiki ijayo. Hii mtakapokuwa off, immediate mwanze kuzifanyia kazi. Tuko pamoja. So we won't discuss them today kwa sababu muda haututoshi, but next week tutajitahidi tuende na muda, japo tunajua Ijumaa inaweza kuwa ndio Idi. Alhamisi na Ijumaa. Tutaona tutafanyaje. Okay, thank you so much. Hizi naweza nikawafuadia sasa hivi. Si mna group lenu? Yeah. Ndafuadia au ndamrushia Moses to ICT and then ataforward kwenye groups. Na share rahisi kwa WhatsApp. Kwenye WhatsApp ndo naituma kwa rahisi zaidi. Yeah. If you are comfortable na mimi nimesaini, I wish you a good weekend. See you on Monday.